Hi everyone and welcome to your midweek astrology update brought to you by 1millionnights.com. We have a really powerful and intense sky, and this astrological configuration with its intensity, with its dynamism, where even the smallest elements right now can be very important game changers, is going to persist all through the month of December, which is going to be a really powerful and important month from so very many different perspectives. This is going to be the period when at least, mentally and emotionally, we get to see the light at the end of the tunnel. What was the big meaning of the year 2020, and naturally, where it is that we are heading collectively, the gates of the future are going to open. Of course, physically and in a very practical sense, we are just starting to step into it. So, things are not going to be resolved overnight in a flash in an instant, but at least we will see where we are going, and that gives us all a sense of direction. And that is exactly what we are going to need. Also, in this period right now, we are in between eclipses, because on the 30th we had that really powerful and karmic penumbral lunar eclipse in the sign of Gemini, which has revealed so very many things to us about our own persona, about our individual journeys, about our mindset. For very many people, it brought up their old childhood traumas, but not in a very classical, as in the Piscean way, where it overwhelmed them, where it drowned them, where it caused a lot of emotional up and down, but rather, it also brought up the ability, the courage, the strength to overcome it, and most importantly, it became imperatively necessary. It crystallized in our minds, even in the lower mind, that we have to step into the future without any of those, because it doesn't matter anymore what happened to us in the past, because the world we live in today, as in already, that is totally different. So none of our past life lessons, everything that happened to us maybe just tens of years ago, it doesn't matter anymore, because the world no longer functions that way, and naturally, in a few years, everything is going to be totally different. And of course, there is no way going back into the old normality. So this was the moment when all of us, one way or another, realized that we have to move forward and no longer backward, even if that means giving up on very important things that gave us security. May they be material in nature, psychological, social, emotional in nature. There is no longer any security in anything that had to do with the past. Even if we worked our hands to the bone to get it, even if we worked tens of years in order to be safe and secure, well, that is fate, that is karma, that is Lady Fortuna, so to speak. She takes everything away in a second, except hope and the courage to move forward. And detaching, releasing, letting go, it doesn't matter how big, great your losses are. We are heading into the age of Aquarius, as in right now in December, on the 21st of December, where things are not going to be as possessive. Material values, material security will no longer matter that much, because believe it or not, maybe in 3, 4, let's say 5 years, there is going to be enough for everyone, and it's going to be shared, so it won't really be a big deal. Your individuality, your distinctiveness, your uniqueness, your intellectual creativity is going to be the new thing. That is going to be the biggest value. And also, the good news is that even if you're not that deep thinker or visionary or Aquarian archetype, it's no problem at all, because there is going to be tolerance, acceptance, and a place for everyone regardless. But in order for all of us collectively to get there, well, things need to change, and this is the true start of the change, not just in a spiritual or energetic or karmic way. This is gonna start happening physically, events are gonna take place, things are gonna be triggered, so we are truly heading into the narrowest part of the birth canal. We are almost reborn. We are very, very close to taking our first breath in a new format, in a new world, in a new paradigm. But of course, the reason why we don't perceive this as, let's say, in such a positive, uplifting manner, because a birth should be celebrated. Well, we are the newborn, we are the babies. Being born is not something pleasant for anyone. It is frightening, scary, traumatic, and painful. Imagine the first breath burning the lungs, and we have to get used to that. So for us, for humankind, it is not a pleasant experience right now, but all of this changes very soon. Now, before I fast forward everything to the 14th and 21st of December, two of the most powerful moments that are definitely going to change everything, let's take a look at what's happening in the sky right now. Well, we have a powerful energy shift where Mercury just entered the sign of Sagittarius. Now, in this part of the sky, Mercury is very, very quick. So if you have been stagnating with paperwork, with very important decisions, with legal matters, official matters, very important communication, this energy can really speed up everything. But on the other hand, it also greatly influences the highest functions of our minds, because Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius is the symbol of our non-linear logic. Sometimes this energy is not that comfortable because we cannot explain it rationally, but it's a matter of faith. We just know it, we just feel it. Some way inside of us it does make sense, just not to the human, to the rational mind. But as long as we know how to work with this energy, instant, quick, sudden decisions can be made, which can make everything better, which can be the best choices for ourselves and, of course, those who depend on us. Also, when Mercury enters the sign of Sagittarius, and of course this happens every single year, very subtle but influential cosmic energies enter our world. It is always like the opening of a gate, where that gate is the higher divine realms, which has so much to do with the sign of Sagittarius. So this is the beginning of the most mystical, magical part of the year, because this is totally different from the Scorpionic energy, because Scorpio is mystery, Scorpio is the occult, when it is absolutely not in our control, when we can only observe it, when it influences us in a subtle way. Sagittarius is totally different. Sagittarius is, our beliefs, our faith, our connection with the divine. So this is when there is an alliance between us, and that is what makes it so very magical, because it is reactive. It doesn't just react to the unconscious part of our beings, as in Scorpio and Pisces, but it reacts to the consciousness, which means manifestations, communication, divine signs, which we can decipher, interpret, and work with very practically. In usual circumstances, this also greatly mobilizes travel, especially long distance and international travel, but unfortunately under the present moment circumstances, that might not be a possibility. Not just, socially and economically due to the coronavirus situation, But the astrology of the moment supports this as well. Jupiter and Saturn are incredibly close to one another in the sky. They form a conjunction where Saturn is in an erratic degree of its home sign of Capricorn, which means limitations, rules, obey the law, other people, or government, centralized power decides what is good and what isn't good for us. And all of this is expanded by Jupiter. So, the rules and regulations and the lockdowns and all those legislative blockages are going to be felt very, very intensely. But fortunately, all of this changes on the 21st of December when Saturn and Jupiter meet in the sky in 0 degrees of Aquarius. And that is totally different. Yes, Saturn is the co-ruler, the ancient ruler of Aquarius, but in that part of the sky, it speaks about totally different things. It is like the protection and the sovereignty of society, of interhuman connection, fairness, equality, equal chances for everyone. In the sign of Aquarius, Saturn takes on its most beneficial, positive, rewarding, protective, nurturing, father figure type of qualities. It is more like a nurturer, whereas in the sign of Capricorn, it's also the father figure. It is more like a very, very strict teacher kind of energy, where there is no place for mistakes, there is no place for rebellion, there is no place for innovation, because it's rules, regulations, customs that all of us have to obey. The ancients have considered that Saturn in Capricorn is the energy of the great malefic, as in the planet which bestows challenges, temptations, restrictions. It brings out illnesses, everything that makes us feel limited, constricted, unhappy, not to harm us, but rather to force us to overcome our limits, to teach us the lesson, to either fight and be stronger than the Saturn, the limitations, or if one is not strong enough or motivated enough, then there is no choice but to just accept that there is no other way to survive but to be obedient and follow the rules, the customs, the traditions. So that's why for a lot of people, if not for everyone, these past 3 years, when Saturn transited its home sign of Capricorn, were really, really, really tough, either materially or job-wise or simply psychologically. One way or another, all of us were confronted with our limitations, and we were basically forced to fight or flight. And also, in the sign of Capricorn, Saturn greatly favors highly skilled professionals who sacrificed everything to master a profession, to master something work-related. So we could see big corporations holding all the power. We could see that governments are almost sovereign, that democracy isn't really a democracy because there is a hidden dictatorship in everything. In the past 3 years, of course, we could see that liberal professions, freelancers, artists, those who don't perform a role which is very earthly, material, that very practical, were not doing that great. And a lot of people who are, like the dreamy archetype, the creative archetype, lost their sense of purpose, lost their self-confidence, because, Saturn demanded this practicality, this material type of approach to life. But fortunately, it ends on the 21st of December, when it leaves its home sign of Capricorn for good and as I said earlier, it enters Aquarius, sign which also falls under its rulership, but there it is totally different. It is very tolerant. It is, let's say, compassionate, because Aquarius is the sign of humanitarianism. So it protects integrity, dignity, and that is exactly what we need. And if that wasn't enough, it is expanded by Jupiter. So the emphasis is really going to be placed on equality, social justice, everyone having a place regardless of who they are and what they chose in life. Also in the present moment, and this aspect is going to stay with us for quite a long time, Neptune, who went direct very recently, so its symbolism is greatly amplified, forms a square with the North Node in Gemini, the symbol of our karmic path forward, the symbol of how we leap into the future. And this means that on certain levels, all of us are fighting for our inner truth. All of us are trying to make sense of our life, of where we want to progress in the future, what choices do we have to make for our future, and most importantly, who it is that we are, because our sense of identity also has to evolve and be viable in the world of the future. But the good news is that before this, Neptune was retrograde, so that was like fighting with all our inner illusions, our delusions, our naivety, our highest principles which may have been way too idealistic to, exist in real life. So we had to put up a good fight. But now what has changed is that we're trying to find an external confirmations of our inner truth, which is not that easy, but at least our being supports us, especially after this Gemini penumbral lunar eclipse, which was all about reinventing and rediscovering ourselves by closing the past and who we used to be, taking away the power of all the traumas, hurts, and the negative patterns of our thoughts, all of our self-defeating patterns, our old education, certain fears and obsessions that were programmed inside of us by society, by the world of yesterday. And slowly but surely we're taking off the chains, especially of our mental sphere, and this is actually going to do miracles for all of us, because with a different mindset, with simply knowing that as long as our thoughts and minds are free from external conditioning, but free from our inner demons as well, that is the key to success and enjoying and fully living the future in freedom. Also in the sky, Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, a planet which is responsible with our feelings, the truth inside our hearts, is in the sign of Scorpio, where it is debilitated, so she cannot bring forward her highest qualities. But this is actually a very good sign right now, because Scorpio is where the filth, the emotional filth, which we might not even be able to observe in ourselves, lies. For example, jealousy, envy, grudges, old hurts which we don't want to release, fake desires, fake dreams, obsessions. And since she forms an opposition with Uranus, planet of truth, all of these are being revealed. Now let me just give you an example. Do I truly want that new car? Do I truly desire it in my life? Or is this desire of mine due to the fact that I saw someone else drive it and their happiness, their satisfaction was too much for me, and it sparked a flame of jealousy that, well, I am not less deserving than that person who I saw, regardless of who that was, so I have to have it as well because I'm capable and I'm worthy. Now it is feelings like this that Uranus simply pulls to the surface, and gives us a chance to alchemize it, to vanquish it, to cast it out of our hearts, leaving a sense of innocence and purity, leaving a lot of room inside of us for true and authentic desires. Because the very same Venus, when she is authentic in the sign of Scorpio, she can be extremely magnetic. When we become, symbolically speaking of course, a little bit obsessed with our authentic desires, then it is like a signal to the universe to speed things up, at least give us a portion of what we desire so we can feed the dream, so we can feed the feeling in our heart, and it works like a charm. Also, at the same time, the Sun in the sign of Sagittarius starts forming a trine, a supremely harmonious conversation with Mars in fellow fire sign Aries, a sign that it also rules. So this is a celestial infusion of courage, of faith, of ambition, determination, inner strength. At this point, or at least when this conversation is going to be a little bit stronger, it doesn't matter if it's possible, if it's logical, if it's rational, if anyone else in reality accomplished it. As long as we believe it, we will have the courage to pursue it, and this trine can actually perform true miracles. On the other hand, Venus also holds a trine, a supremely harmonious conversation with Neptune, her higher octave. As I said, Venus is being recalibrated or purged at the moment, purged from the inner filth, jealousy, envy, obsessions, fake desires, illusions, by that very powerful Uranus in the sign of Taurus, so our value systems. And the trine with Neptune, her higher octave, as I said, aligns us with everything that is authentic. So this is the energy of divine inspiration, divine guidance, divine love. What we authentically desire, well, the universe, the divine intelligence, the divine heart, Neptune, also desires through us. So our desires, the most authentic and deepest one, our true dreams, may not be ours alone. They may be the universe experiencing itself through us, and that's why we love them so much. And whenever this realization hits us, well, then the hand of fate starts working, because what the universe wants and desires and dreams up, it's gonna get it one way or another. So this is quite a miraculous energy, especially regarding romance, regarding love, regarding partnerships. And also this is the energy of compassion, empathy, solidarity, unconditional love. So if we might be in a difficult situation, maybe someone out there is gonna help us totally unconditionally in the most miraculous way. And Scorpio is also a financial energy. Venus is all about finances as well. So if we may experience financial trouble or we're sinking very, very deeply, this can also manifest as financial help, as material help, as someone not just supporting us emotionally, but actually giving us true practical material help, pulling us out from the quicksand. And also this energy is supported by another conversation which I talked about earlier. Saturn and Jupiter being very, very close to the sky, so Jupiter expands Saturn. Now usually this isn't the most favorable energy, because it is restrictions and scarcity, poverty, economic crisis, material instability. But individually, it can have a totally different manifestation, because Jupiter is the planet of faith, generosity, and inner truth. So when we have a certain kind of attitude, when we display a certain kind of frequency, the frequency of deep, deep gratitude, of faith, of positivity, of optimism, well then Jupiter is the truth, but Saturn is the manifester, especially in Capricorn. So it can all of a sudden, sometimes without any logical and rational explanation, manifest what we believe strongly, but we really need to believe this. And Mercury's position also helps, because as I said, Mercury in Sagittarius is instant, quick, quantum leap kind of energy. It can come out of nowhere without any warning. So what I'm trying to say here is, it doesn't matter how bad your situation is right now. Everything may seem hopeless. Everything may seem that it's crashing down. It's a tower kind of moment. Tower as in the tarot card. Upheaval and crisis, etc. It doesn't seem to get better. It doesn't feel that you're gonna see the light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon. But don't give up hope, because all these planetary conversation can change everything in an instant. As long as you don't allow yourself to be drowned by negativity. So you must really stay positive. You must just believe that for the simple fact that you're alive, that you are a creation of the universe, it will help you. In the universe, absolutely nothing is set in stone. Every single millisecond is a different reality. It is a different dimension, so to speak. We live in the eternal flowing now, so nothing is set in stone. Everything can change. It's almost like playing a lottery. Every millisecond of our lives, there is going to be one occasion when we actually win, when something truly happens to change our situation. Nothing can be eternally doom and gloom. Nothing can be eternally stagnation or being stuck unless we choose it. If we only focus on that, well then of course nothing can ever save us. But if we stay open, at least in the corner of our minds, and of course the heart as well, that it can change, it is a possibility, then we invite this in our lives. And this attitude, this frequency, mental frequency of course, that anything is actually possible, the universe, the divine mind, even in a very physical and quantic sense, its intelligence is incomprehensible. So just because we cannot think of something, a solution, etc., that doesn't mean that the source of our existence cannot do what is impossible for us. So we have every reason to be hopeful, and we are in between eclipses, so the veil between the worlds is that much thinner, and the sign of Sagittarius hosts the galactic center, which is infinite creational energy, and also the great attractor, a powerful spatial anomaly, which can, make our wildest dreams come true in an instant. So there is so much energy packed up there in the sky, especially in Sagittarius, where all we need to do is just believe, just stay open, and it can enter our lives. And of course on the 14th of December, we have a very powerful solar eclipse in Sagittarius, which will be a massive game changer. Now collectively, things which we once thought to be purely sci-fi are going to become possible in a very quick period in the next 6 months. So that means groundbreaking scientific discoveries. That means things that in an instant can change everything that we thought we knew. That means a powerful quantum leap into the future, but a rather sci-fi kind of future, something that we can't even dream of right now in this moment in time. So if this is such a massive manifestation, as I said, over the next 6 months for humanity as a collective, then that means the same for us individually, especially if we know where Sagittarius lies in our own personal chart, because that area of life is going to undergo a massive upgrade. And of course, it's just around the corner. It's not long now. But even in the time between, the time between eclipses is extremely magical, and there is a creational energy in the air where we can just draw something from the ether and make it real. So it doesn't matter how bad our situations are right now. Now it is the time to be truly hopeful, to truly dream our desires, our salvation, our futures into existence. Well, this concludes today's horoscope. I do hope that you found it useful. And until next time, bye for now.